Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Imagine you are explaining something very clearly to your friend. You use simple words, you even repeat yourself, but at the end your friend says, "Sorry, I didn't understand." Has this ever happened to you? Or imagine you are a teacher. You explain a concept with full confidence. But when students write the test, they answer something completely different. Now the question is, was the teacher speaking? Yes. Were the students listening? Yes. Then what went wrong? What went wrong? The answer is very simple. There was a communication barrier. So in today's video, we are going to understand communication barriers in the simplest possible way. Whether you are a B.Ed student, a teacher, preparing for CTET, TET, UGC NET, or simply want to improve your communication skills, this video is going to help you a lot. So let's begin. So first of all, what is communication? Before understanding communication barriers, let's first understand communication itself. Communication is the process of sharing information, ideas, thoughts, feelings from one person to another. But here's something very important. Communication is not successful just because someone speaks. Communication becomes successful only when the receiver understands the message exactly the way the sender intended. Understood? Exactly the way the sender intended. Let me give you a simple example. Suppose a teacher says, tomorrow everyone should bring the English notebook. The next day, half of the students bring the English notebook and the other half bring the science notebook. What happened here? What went wrong here? The teacher spoke, students listened, but the message was not understood correctly. That means communication failed. So remember this definition. Communication is the process of sending and receiving messages with proper understanding. Let me repeat my words. Communication is the process of sending and receiving messages with proper understanding. सिर्फ बोल देना कम्युनिकेशन नहीं होता है. कम्युनिकेशन तब होता है जब सामने वाला वही समझे जो आप समझाना चाहते हैं. आई होप थिंग्स आर क्लियर. सो what are communication barriers? So let's come to our topic, communication barriers. Now imagine communication is like a bridge connecting two people. Okay, one person is the sender, the other person is the receiver. If this bridge is blocked by rocks, traffic or construction, people cannot cross it easily. They will face difficulty. Similarly, if something blocks our message before it reaches the listener correctly, it is called a communication barrier. So by definition, communication barriers are obstacles that prevent effective understanding between the sender and the receiver. These barriers create misunderstanding, confusion, conflict, and sometimes complete misunderstanding, a complete communication failure. In education, communication barriers are extremely important because if communication fails, learning also fails. So that's why every teacher should know these barriers. So today we will understand all 12 barriers one by one. So they are 12 in number. How many? 12 in number. So barrier number 1, criticizing. Let's start with the first barrier, criticizing. What does criticizing mean? What does criticizing mean? So criticizing means attacking the person instead of solving the problem. You are not solving the problem, you are attacking the person. Imagine a student says, "Sir, I couldn't complete my homework." Instead of asking the reason, the teacher immediately says, "You are always careless. You always do that. You are always careless." Now think carefully. Did the teacher solve the problem? Did the teacher solve the problem? No. Instead, the teacher attacked the student's personality. The student feels embarrassed. The student stops communicating honestly. Now he will start making excuses. So that is why criticizing becomes a communication barrier. Okay, because nobody likes to be attacked. Okay, instead of criticizing, a teacher should ask, what stopped you from completing your homework? See the difference. You will see the difference. One sentence closes communication. It blocks communication. The other sentence opens communication. Okay, it provides a kind of openness. Okay, so that was criticizing. Barrier number 2, diagnosing. Now let's move to the second barrier, diagnosing. The word diagnose is generally used by doctors. A doctor diagnoses a disease after proper examination. But in communication, diagnosing means assuming that you already know the reason behind someone's behavior. You play God. For example, a student remains silent in class. He is silent in the class usually. The teacher immediately says, "I know why you are silent. You are lazy, that is why you are silent." Is the teacher sure? Means we are not God. You can't say always the right thing about someone. So no, maybe the student is nervous. Maybe the student is sick. Maybe the student had a family problem. Maybe the student simply didn't understand the topic. But the teacher assumed the reason without asking. You assume the reason without asking. So that assumption blocks communication. So instead of diagnosing, ask questions. For example, "You look quiet today. Is everything okay?" Now see the difference between the sentences. Now the student gets an opportunity to explain. Now he's open to explain. Okay, so barrier number 3, praising evaluatively. Okay, now let's understand this phrase. The third barrier, praising evaluatively. Many students think praise is always good. Even teacher also think praise is always good, but not necessarily. Let's understand why. Suppose a teacher says, "You are the smartest student in the class. You are the smartest student in this class." At first, it sounds like praise, but actually it is evaluation. Why? Because the teacher is comparing one student with others. Smartest, third degree. Okay, third degree of comparison. Now the student who received the praise may start feeling pressure because he has to maintain that state. Other students may feel ignored or discouraged. Okay, so instead of evaluating students, appreciate their effort. For example, "I like the way you organize your answer." Or "You worked really hard on this assignment." So this kind of praise motivates. Okay? This kind of praise motivates students without comparing them. So there must not be any comparison. Okay, we all are good at something else. Okay, now barrier number 4, threatening. We all are aware of it. Okay, because we all have experienced it. The fourth communication barrier is threatening. The threatening means using fear to make someone obey. Okay, for example, a teacher says, if you don't complete your homework, I will fail you. If you don't complete your homework, I will fail you. Or if you don't keep quiet, if you don't keep quiet, I will throw you out of the class. Now, ask yourself a question. Will students obey? Yes, but why? Not because they understood the importance of homework. They have not understood the importance of homework. They obey because they are afraid. Okay, so that is not the aim of the teacher. This must not be the aim of the teachers. Okay, fear may produce temporary discipline, but it never creates genuine learning. A good communicator replaces threats with explanation. So instead of saying, if you don't submit your assignment, I will punish you, say, completing this assignment will help you understand today's topic and prepare better for the examination. Let me repeat my words. Completing this assignment will help you understand today's topic and prepare better for the examination. Now notice the difference. The first statement creates fear. The second creates motivation. Okay, now I hope you have understood the fourth one. Now barrier number 5, moralizing, another one. Okay, the fifth communication barrier is moralizing. Moralizing means continuously telling people what they should or shouldn't do according to your personal values. Okay, you become the center of the command. Okay, for example, a good student never makes mistakes. This is your value, your perspective. A good child always obeys. You should always behave perfectly. These statements sound nice, but they don't solve the student's actual problem. Suppose a student is struggling with mathematics. So instead of helping the student understand the concept, the teacher says, a good student studies every day. Now, this is not going, your statement, whatever you have said, is not going to solve his problem. Does that solve the difficulty? No. The student needs guidance, not a lecture. So remember, advice based on moral values, advice based on moral values without understanding the real solution becomes a communication barrier. Okay, so barrier number 6, advising. After moralizing, advising. So let's move to the 6th barrier, advising. Giving advice is not always wrong, but the problem begins when we give advice before listening. First, you have to listen to the student. Imagine your friend says, I am feeling stressed because of tomorrow's examination. Okay, before he even finishes, you immediately say, you should sleep early. You should study more. You should stop using your mobile phone. Maybe those suggestions are correct, but did you first understand his actual problem? He could not even finish his sentence, his statement. So did you first understand his actual problem? No. Perhaps he was anxious because of family issues. Perhaps he had a health problem. Okay, so good communication begins with listening. Advice should come only after understanding the situation. पहले समझिए और फिर समझाइए. Now, barrier number 7, diverting. The 7th communication barrier is diverting. Diverting means changing the topic instead of discussing the real issue. You just change the topic. Okay, for example, a student says, Sir, I am worried because I couldn't understand today's chapter. So the teacher replies, okay, now open page number 45. So did the teacher answer the student's concern? You just ignored. Did the teacher answer the student's concern? No. The conversation was diverted. As a result, the student still remains confused. A good communicator first addresses the concern and then continues with the lesson. So that was diverting. Barrier number 8, reassuring. The 8th communication barrier is reassuring. Many people think reassuring is always good, but sometimes it actually blocks communication. For example, a student says, "Sir, I am scared about tomorrow's Viva." Okay, so the teacher immediately says, "Don't worry, everything will be fine." Okay, so this sounds comforting. Okay, this sounds comforting, but did the teacher understand why the student was scared? No. Sometimes people don't need instant reassurance. Okay, they don't need instant reassurance. They first need someone who will patiently listen. Instead of saying don't worry, you can ask, what exactly making you nervous? Now communication becomes meaningful. Okay, so that was reassurance. Barrier number 9, it is called name calling or labeling. The 9th communication barrier is name calling and labeling. This is one of the most harmful barriers. One of the most harmful barriers. It means giving negative labels to people. For example, you are lazy, such an idiot, you are careless, you are useless, you are good for nothing, you are irresponsible. These labels attack person's identity. You are attacking person's identity instead of connecting the behavior. Means you are not correcting the behavior, you are attacking the person's identity. So suppose a student forgets homework once. So instead of saying you forgot today's homework, the teacher says you are a lazy student. Okay, so the statement talks about behavior. So the second statement labels the person. Labels reduce confidence and discourage communication. A good teacher always corrects behavior, not personality. Okay, this is a very important point. A good teacher always corrects behavior, not personality. You can't attack anybody's personality. Okay, now barrier number 10, ordering. Okay, the 10th communication barrier is ordering. Ordering means giving commands without giving the listener an opportunity to think, explain, or participate. For example, a teacher says, sit down, keep quiet, do your work, don't ask questions. So these are direct commands. Okay, sometimes commands are necessary, sometimes they are necessary, especially for maintaining discipline. However, if a teacher communicates only through orders, students begin to feel controlled rather than respected. Okay, so let's compare two situations. Situation 1, complete your assignment immediately. Situation 2, please complete your assignment because it will help you understand today's concept and prepare for tomorrow's class. Now tell me, which statement sounds better? Obviously, the second one. It explains the reason behind the instruction. Remember, people respond better to understanding than to authority alone. Let me repeat my word. People respond better to understanding than to authority alone. Barrier number 11, excessive or inappropriate questioning. The 11th communication barrier is excessive or inappropriate questioning. Questions are important because they help us learn. Questions are important because they help us learn. But asking too many unnecessary questions can make a person uncomfortable. So imagine the situation: a student forgets to submit homework. So instead of calmly asking one question, the teacher starts asking, "Why didn't you complete it? Where were you yesterday? What were you doing? Okay, who told you not to complete it? Why didn't you inform me? Did you forget or ignore it?" Can you see what happened? So instead of solving the problem, the student now feels nervous and defensive. Good communication uses questions to understand, not to interrogate. Here in education, questions means we use questions to understand, not to interrogate. So one thoughtful question is often more effective than 10 unnecessary ones. क्वेश्चंस पूछिए लेकिन इन्वेस्टिगेशन मत कीजिए. पुलिस का काम नहीं करना है, टीचर ही रहिए. ओके. बैरियर नंबर 12, लॉजिकल आर्ग्यूमेंट. द फाइनल कम्युनिकेशन बैरियर इज लॉजिकल आर्ग्यूमेंट. This barrier occurs when we use logic and completely ignore emotions. Emotions are as important as logic. For example, a student says, "Sir, I am very nervous before tomorrow's presentation." The teacher replies, "There's no logical reason to be nervous." Is the teacher factually correct? Maybe. What is the reason? But did the teacher understand the student's emotions? Okay? No. If we go this way, we don't understand his emotions. Communication is not only about facts, it is also about feelings. Okay? A better response would be, "I understand you are feeling nervous. Let's practice your presentation together." Now you are assisting the student. Now the student feels supported. Always remember, logic may solve a problem, but empathy builds relationships. Let me repeat my words. Logic may solve a problem, but empathy builds relationships. Okay, so let's revise all 12 barriers. Okay. First, criticizing, finding faults instead of solving the problem. Second, diagnosing, assuming you already know the reason behind someone's behavior. Third, praising evaluatively, praising by comparing or judging people. Fourth one, threatening, using fear to control behavior. Fifth one, moralizing. Okay, fifth one was moralizing, giving lectures about what people should do. Sixth one was advising, giving advice before understanding the situation. Seventh, diverting, means changing the topic instead of discussing the real issue. Eighth one was I think reassuring. Okay, giving quick comfort without understanding feelings. Ninth one, name calling or labeling, means attacking the person's identity instead of correcting behavior. Ordering, giving commands without explanation. 11th, excessive or inappropriate questioning, asking too many unnecessary questions. 12th one, logical argument, using only logic while ignoring emotions. Okay, so communication is one of the most important skills in life. Okay, whether you are a teacher, a student, a manager, a parent, or a leader, your success depends not only what you say, but also on how you say it. If we avoid these 12 communication barriers, our conversations become more respectful, meaningful, and effective. Remember this simple sentence: good communication is not about speaking more, It is about making sure the other person understands you. ओके और इसीलिए कहते हैं एक अच्छा कम्युनिकेटर बोलने से ज़्यादा सुनना जानता है. So I hope I have explained all the 12 communication barriers. So if I hope this video helped you understand communication barriers in a simple and practical way. If you found this video useful, so don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more educational content related to communication skills, B.Ed, C.TET, UGC NET, English literature, and the teacher education. So thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. So until then, keep learning, keep growing, and keep communicating effectively. Thank you.